Part 1. The world that forgot how to hurt. We live in the most comfortable era in human history, and we are falling apart. Anxiety is at an all-time high. Resilience is at an all-time low. We have painkillers for physical pain, distractions for emotional pain, and algorithms designed to make sure you never feel bored for even a second. And yet people are more miserable than ever. This part asks the uncomfortable question: what if comfort is the disease and suffering is the cure? We build a world designed to eliminate all discomfort. And somehow, we've never been more broken. Our ancestors faced starvation, war, and darkness, and they endured. We face a slow Wi-Fi connection and spiral into frustration. There's something inside you built specifically for hard times. You just haven't let it wake up. We medicate the symptom. We silence the signal. We never ask what the pain is trying to teach us. Every strong thing you've ever admired was forged under pressure. You are no different. Distraction is the new opium, and we are all addicted without knowing it. Ancient cultures had entire philosophies built around how to suffer well. That wisdom didn't disappear, we just stopped listening. The data is clear. As comfort has risen, our capacity to cope has collapsed. Most people spend their entire lives running from the cave. The few who walk and come out different. This series is not about celebrating pain. It's about remembering that you were built to carry it and to grow because of it. Part 2. What pain is actually telling you. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your body, mind, and soul speaking the only language loud enough to make you stop and listen. Physical pain tells you something is wrong and must be healed. Emotional pain tells you something matters deeply enough to hurt. Existential pain tells you that you are not living in alignment with who you truly are. The problem isn't the pain. The problem is we've been taught to hit mute before we hear the message. Pain is not punishment. Pain is information, and it's the most honest message your body will ever send you. Even broken things still ring. Your suffering is trying to call your attention to something essential. We are terrified of silence because silence is where the pain finally gets to speak. Science confirms what philosophers have always known. Emotional pain activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. It is absolutely real. Every time you face pain, you face a choice: avoid it and stay small, or move through it and transform. Pain is your compass. It always points toward what needs your attention most. Leonard Cohen wrote it perfectly. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Scars are not proof that you were weak. They are proof that something tried to stop you and couldn't. The frequency of your suffering, when fully felt, becomes the map to your highest self. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this making me ready for? Part 3. The Stoic Blueprint, Suffering as Discipline. 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth. He also buried multiple children, fought endless wars, dealt with plague and betrayal, and battled chronic illness. And every single morning, he wrote about it, not to complain, but to train. The Stoics didn't deny pain. They transformed it into fuel. This part is your ancient blueprint. Marcus Aurelius had every reason to crumble. He had every reason to give up. Instead, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The Stoics trained for hardship the way athletes train for competition. Deliberately, daily, without complaint. Marcus Aurelius wrote the Meditations not for posterity, but for himself. A private manual for suffering well. Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. The Stoics visualized the worst before it came, so it could never ambush them. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the opinions about things." The storm cannot touch what you choose not to let it touch. The dichotomy of control. Master this one idea, and half your suffering disappears immediately. The Stoics saw the self as metal in a forge. Suffering was not something to escape. It was the hammer that shaped you. Voluntary hardship was a Stoic practice. They would fast, sleep on cold ground, wear rough cloth, not as punishment, but as training. Memento mori. Remember you will die. Not to despair, but to stop wasting your suffering by running from it. Empires fall. Bodies fail. Everything you fear losing will one day be gone. The Stoics knew this, and that knowledge set them free. Part 4. The neuroscience of growing through pain. This isn't just philosophy. This is biology. Your brain has a specific mechanism designed to grow stronger through adversity. Post-traumatic growth is not just possible. It is literally wired into your neural architecture. When you suffer well, your brain restructures itself. Your threat response recalibrates. Your pain tolerance expands. Neuroscience is now proving what every ancient warrior tradition already knew. Hardship, when faced with intention, makes you fundamentally stronger. Your brain is not fixed. Every time you face pain consciously, new neural pathways form. Suffering, processed well, literally rewires you. Just as muscle tears and rebuild stronger, Your nervous system repairs and upgrades after every hard experience you survive. The Yerkes-Dodson law shows that peak performance lives at the edge of discomfort, not in safety and not in chaos. Cold exposure, breath work, fasting. Modern science validates what warriors practice for centuries. Voluntary stress makes the system stronger. When you reframe a painful challenge as meaningful, your brain literally shifts cortisol into dopamine. Suffering transforms into drive. Post-traumatic growth studies show that a significant portion of trauma survivors report becoming stronger, more empathetic, and more purposeful. Not despite the pain, but because of it. When your body is under stress, it releases norepinephrine, the chemical of focus, alertness, and clarity. Pain sharpens the mind. Trees that grow in windy conditions develop stronger, deeper root systems. Your resistance is building your roots. Stillness in suffering, not running from it, but sitting inside it, activates your default mode network and triggers the deepest form of self-reorganization. This is your brain before you learned to suffer well. And this is your brain after. The difference is not metaphor. It's measurable. Part 5. The 5 levels of suffering. Not all suffering is equal. There's a hierarchy, and most people are stuck at the lowest level, never ascending to where transformation lives. Level 1 is suffering without awareness. Level 2 is suffering with resistance. Level 3 is suffering with endurance. Level 4 is suffering with purpose. Level 5 is suffering with mastery. Understanding where you are is the first step to climbing higher. There are 5 levels of suffering. Most people never leave the first 2, but the top is where your greatest life is waiting. Level 1, suffering without awareness. You don't know why you hurt. You only know that you do, and you blame everything outside yourself. Level 2, suffering with resistance. You know you're in pain, and you fight it with everything you have, which makes it twice as heavy. Level 3, suffering with endurance. You carry the weight. You don't understand it yet, but you refuse to be stopped by it. Level 4, suffering with purpose. You hurt, but you know why. The pain has a destination. The suffering is fuel, not fog. Level 5, suffering with mastery. You no longer fight it, endure it, or even just use it. You have become someone who transforms pain the moment it arrives. The difference between levels isn't the intensity of the storm. It's the quality of the hand on the wheel. Every level of suffering you graduate through adds another layer of compression, turning the ordinary into something rare and unbreakable. The same person, the same capacity. The only difference is where they chose to stand on the pyramid. You do not need to be at the top. You only need to be on the staircase and still climbing. Part 6. The practices. How to train for suffering. Suffering well is a skill. And like every skill, it must be trained. You cannot wait for a crisis to develop your capacity for it, because by then it will be too late. The greatest practitioners of resilience throughout history didn't react to their hardship. They prepared for it. Here are 7 proven practices for building your pain tolerance before the real test arrives. You don't train for the fight the moment the bell rings. You train in the silent years before anyone is watching. Practice 1. Voluntary cold exposure. 3 minutes in cold water teaches your nervous system that discomfort is survivable every single day. Practice 2. Sit with discomfort. 20 minutes daily without your phone, without distraction, inside whatever feeling is present. This is the foundational practice. Practice 3. Deliberate fasting. Not for weight loss, for the mastery of your body's most primal demand. If you can own your hunger, you can own almost anything. Practice 4. Do the thing that scares you physically once per week. Every time you push past a physical wall, you expand what you believe is possible mentally. Practice 5. Write through the pain. Not to process it gently, to interrogate it. Ask, what is this teaching me? What is it demanding of me? Practice 6. Seek honest feedback. Deliberately put yourself in spaces where you'll be told what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Practice 7. Hard physical work. Not the gym. Actual labor. Carry, build, dig, haul. The body remembers its original purpose when it struggles with real weight. These are not punishment. These are vaccination. You suffer a little every day, so the big suffering doesn't destroy you when it arrives. Calluses don't form on soft skin. They form on skin that has been tested again and again, until it hardens into something that can protect what lies beneath. Part 7. Grief, loss, and the deepest kind of pain. Everything we've discussed so far has been preparation for this. The pain that doesn't respond to technique, the suffering that cannot be optimized. Grief, loss, the death of someone you love, the end of something that defined you. This is the part most self-improvement content refuses to go near. But if we're going to talk about suffering well, we must go here, because grief, handled correctly, is not the end of your story. It is often the most important chapter. There's a pain that no cold bath can prepare you for. No journaling can neutralize it. You simply must go through it. Grief is not weakness. Grief is the price of having loved something real. And that price is always worth paying. You cannot swim across grief. You cannot drain it. You can only learn to float inside it and trust that the shore is real, even when you can't see it. Loss strips you of everything that was borrowed. What remains when everything is gone is what was always truly you. The people we lose do not stop existing. They continue inside the shape of who we became because of them. Kintsugi, the Japanese art of repairing with gold. The philosophy, that which has been broken and repaired, is more beautiful than that which was never broken. You can spend decades going around your grief, or you can walk through it in a fraction of the time. Both arrive at the same place. One of them keeps you. You do not have to be okay. You have to be the lighthouse, still turning, even in the storm, for yourself and for everyone who needs your light. Grief is not a stage you pass through. It is a relationship you continue. The only question is whether you carry it as a burden or as a gift. On the other side of grief, if you do not run, you find something you could not have found any other way. A version of yourself that knows what matters, and nothing else. Part 8. The identity shift, becoming someone who has suffered well. There comes a point in your journey through suffering where something shifts. You stop being someone who is enduring pain, and you start being someone who has been forged by it. This is the identity transformation. It's not just that you feel better. It's that you are fundamentally, irreversibly different. This part is about recognizing that moment, claiming it, and never going back. The butterfly does not remember the caterpillar. And when the transformation is complete, you will barely recognize who you used to be. You have been in the fire. What comes out the other side is not the same material that went in. The summit doesn't change you. The climb does. Every hard step is a vote for a new identity. The new you is not louder or more aggressive. They are quieter, stiller, and somehow more powerful than the old version could have imagined. You were not supposed to return undamaged. You were supposed to return experienced. Write a letter to who you were before the hardship. What do you know now that they needed to hear? What would you tell them to trust? The old identity doesn't disappear. It becomes transparent. You can still see it, still remember it, but it no longer has weight. The best things you will ever create will come from the most difficult seasons of your life. Every scar is a tool that made something worth keeping. There's a presence that only comes from having truly suffered and truly survived. It cannot be faked. It cannot be bought. People feel it before you say a word. You don't just get through suffering. You graduate from it. And on the other side of that door is a life only available to people who paid the price to reach it. Part 9. The people who suffered best. Lessons from history's greatest. Viktor Frankl survived 4 Nazi concentration camps and emerged to write the most important book on meaning ever published. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison and walked out without bitterness, becoming the leader who transformed a nation. Harriet Tubman lived through slavery, escaped, and then went back 19 times to free 300 others. These people did not suffer less than us. They suffered infinitely more, and they are proof that the capacity to transform pain is real, available, and human. The cell could take everything from them. It could not take the last human freedom, the freedom to choose how to respond. Viktor Frankl wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." He discovered this not in a library. He discovered it in hell. Mandela did not become great despite 27 years of imprisonment. He became great inside them. The stone was the making of the river's power. Harriet Tubman said, "I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger." She turned her wound into the world's most powerful compass. Louis Samperini survived 47 days at sea and years in a Japanese POW camp. He returned not broken, but burning with purpose he never would have found in comfort. Dostoevsky faced a mock execution, Siberian exile, epilepsy, and poverty, and from that wreckage wrote the greatest novels in human history. Rumi's greatest poetry was born from the grief of losing his greatest teacher. The wound became the well, and billions have drunk from it ever since. Every person on this list had one thing in common. They never asked to be saved from their suffering. They asked what it was asking of them. This quality, this unbreakable depth, is not available any other way. It cannot be downloaded. It cannot be bought. It must be earned through fire. You may not be called to survive a concentration camp or lead a revolution, but you're called to be that candle, to burn completely, regardless of how dark the room. Part 10. The Oath. Choosing to suffer well from this day forward. This is where everything changes, or doesn't. Because information without commitment is just entertainment. You now know the philosophy. You understand the neuroscience. You've seen the evidence in history's greatest lives. Now the only question remaining is the only one that has ever mattered. What will you choose? This final part is not a lesson. It is an oath, a line in the sand. The moment you stop being someone who knows about suffering well and become someone who actually does it. This is the moment. Not someday. Not when things are easier. Now, the oath begins here. I will not run from what is hard. I will not numb what is painful. I will not outsource what is mine to carry. Every day, the chisel meets the stone. Every day, I choose to shape what I have been given, not to wish I had been given something else. I will write through my pain. I will speak through my fear. I will move through my grief, because on the other side of each is someone I have not yet met. I plant this today, not knowing what season will bring the harvest. But I plant it. I do not wait for better soil. I will stop asking for the rain to stop. I will learn to stand in it so well that I stop caring whether it does. Every hard thing I face is a hammer blow on the blade I am becoming. I welcome the forge. I'm not afraid of the fire. I do not need to see the destination. I need only to remain in motion. The road reveals itself to those who keep walking. I will hold my pain with an open hand, present to it, not crushed by it. I will feel it fully and let it teach me fully. Then I will rise. The forgotten art of suffering well is not about being strong enough to never break. It is about being brave enough to break, and then choosing every single time to rebuild into something greater. This is the oath. This is the art, and it begins now.